Hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another action-packed edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Elias with Mike Bonelli today. And today's topic is an interesting one. We've done shows. We actually looked at our entire archive, spanning 400-plus episodes, as many of you know, at what kind of season preparations we've done in terms of episodes. And we've done kind of a coaching preparation episode. We've done a lot about evaluations. And we realized we've never actually done one that's just how to start the hockey season strong. So today we're going to be looking at kind of mindset, mistakes that sometimes families make, and also the must-do tips over maybe that first 2 to 4 week time period. And when you're listening to this, aptly, we're releasing it right when you need to hear it. All right. I will always say, though, a lot of the tips that we go over, as many of you know in these episodes, really do span the full season. But we're focusing on that specifically today. So I'm going to bring in my co-host, my friend, my line mate, also who has done 400-plus episodes on this show, Mike Bonelli. Mike, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's the season's around the corner, and I'm really excited about this kind of subject because I think it's something personally that I work with every day, no matter what time of the season it is. But especially in the beginning, because I think most of us as coaches, you can put the past behind you. It's always like a fresh start. And there shouldn't be any like woes going into it. Like this is the time when if you can set everything up, well, and get a great head start, it makes everything so much easier down the road.
Yeah, and let's start about like that head start. I think that's going to resonate with a lot of the families that listen. Let's discuss some of some of the biggest mindset traps that families fall into. I mean, things like the pressure to perform early. I think sometimes teams overschedule early on. And also just like, parents overscheduling, too much going on that time of year with the crossover. Also, there's a lot of comparing to other players. This is a marathon, right? The season. And again, I think just to kick it off, Mike, you got to go into the season realizing for the athlete, who they are when they start the season should not be who they are when they end the season. You want to get better throughout the season. So if you're starting and you think, well, they're the best on the team, or you got to be the best on the team, you're actually not leaving too much room for growth, right? So you want to go in with that growth mindset, not a fixed mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it's so, and I think knowing that too is knowing, if you have a good feeling of your role, like you kind of know where you fit into the pecking order going in, then as a parent and a player outside the team success, you need to then say, well, what can we do? What can I do to influence the team as the leader or as the player that's maybe not the best yet? Or, how I define myself. And then, we could talk a little bit about how you align that with what the coach thinks of you.
100%.
But I think, a parent and a player need to have a pretty good understanding about going in and saying, well, I really feel this is where I'm at. And this is where I want to be. But also understand that at the beginning of the season, just take care of the business at hand, and that's starting the season. Like don't worry about what you look like in November or what you're going to look like in January. Figure out how you're going to start your season off on a good positive note, but also setting some really good expectations that are attainable, not only by yourself but within the structure of the program you're in.
Yeah, and we actually in our coaches episode, we talked about the importance of helping your players understand their roles, right? Yeah. I think in that first 2 weeks, you might have a perceived notion from a coach or a parent or a player of what your role is, but I don't think you should go into the season saying, "Well, I'm the third line center or I'm the first line center." I mean, another kind of word of the wise here is, I don't care if your kid's been playing year round or they're just coming back. It's going to take a few weeks for the team to get to know each other. Even if they've played together before, something's always changing. And at minimum, the kids are changing. They're getting older. So in that first 2 to 4 weeks, I mean, give them a minute, give them a second to get to know each other. And the kids, the athletes also have to kind of have that mentality of get to know your line mates, get to see who you play well with, right? Don't lock yourself in with, I played with that kid last year, I have to play with them this year. If the chemistry is there, that'll happen automatically. Right? Go in with that open mindset. And parents, make sure you're encouraging that too, right? I will say this, though, also. Once you get to that kind of second, third, fourth week, I don't think as a parent, I'm saying this, and as a coach, there's nothing wrong with your athlete, parents, the athlete, going to the coach and asking, hey, what role do you see me in And what can I improve upon this season? Again, I'm going to reiterate, the athlete should be doing this, not the parent. All right, parents, if you want to get on the coach's bad side, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, if you have an under 12 player, maybe you're doing that with the parent, but they're not driving the conversation. Like that's where you're, as a parent, you're coaching your child prior to talking to an adult.
Yeah.
And we've had episodes on that, and like how do you approach an adult, with a kid, and
Right.
and then knowing the room. Like make sure that the coach is somebody that's going to be receptive to having that conversation and not going to be, not being defensive about it. And if you're listening to this as a coach, be gracious that the player wants to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Open up the door and open up the window to say, I am here for you. It's going to help me understand you. If you understand me and we understand each other, things can often we wait and we try to define ourselves in the role of the team after the role has been defined for us. Like we don't have any say in it, right? I think it's so important at the youth level to have a say in what you think and who you think you are, and then that might help kind of mold who you do become as a player on the team.
A quick story. I remember when I was a U16 player. Actually, I might have been U18. I went to my coach. I've been accustomed. I have to start saying in the old days. That's what people have been telling me back in the old days, in the 90s or whatever time period it was. I remember going to my coach and just asking for a meeting and say, hey, look, this is where I kind of see myself this year, and this is what I'd like to do. And this guy got so irate that you had the gall to come and tell me where you think you should play. And to this day, I don't think I walked in the room with that intention, nor do I think I came across that way. I was honestly looking for just a two-way dialogue. And his ego, and as you can guess, this team didn't do too well. His ego just was like, no one tells me how to coach my team. And man, that just wasn't my intention. So coaches, obviously you can help the kids learn how to word things differently. But if a player comes to you and says, hey, help me see where I'm supposed to be, you should be all over that. That's an asset to you as a coach.
Right. And if you're a coach or a parent of a certain age, like me, you're going to remember, like when I was a young coach, I'm like, listen, don't come see me. My door, I'm not here as a therapist, and I'm not going to talk about ice time. And I think it closes the door to development so quickly because most of the time, like when I would do that as a coach, it probably was because I didn't have the confidence that I had the maturity to deal with a conversation that could be controversial, right? It could be adversarial. Like nobody wants to have those conversations. But I think I think that the tools that are out there and available to all of us as coaches, really help us lend a hand in setting up those talks so that they become a positive piece for you and not like a fight in a room, and knowing how to have that conversation and knowing how to, really define what that meeting is going to be about. Those are all important pieces of having those talks.
Yeah, and I'll also say this too. Language is very important. I'll say it to the parents and the players. Saying things like "I need" or "you owe me," that's never the way to approach a conversation.
Or so and so's dad said my son should be on this line. Like that's the kind of stuff I hear all the time. Like, oh, everybody else thinks I should be playing on the first line with so and so. I said, who is everyone else?
Yeah.
So again, these are all just so both sides of it. We hope that the adults can come in and frame it so that the child can sit in a room and really have an honest conversation about who they want to be and where they want to be at the end of the season and how they want to affect the team, and that both parties, the dad and the mom of the player and the parent and the coach of the player, can agree that they listened, they heard them, and then they can react to that.
Yeah, and last note I'll say on it too, Mike, is that parents, you can sit with your kids at home and practice these conversations. I do that with my kids. If my kid has an issue, I go, let's go through what you want to say. And I say, tell me what you want to say. And usually I'm like, okay, well, let's change how we word that a little bit. But you can help them prepare for those conversations. It's an important life skill. All right, Mike, we always talk about in hockey, hockey's got to be fun, right? And I do agree with that all the time, but we always get questions about development. So let's just take a look at the first 4 weeks, right, or 2 to 4 weeks from a developmental standpoint, because I think it's going to shock a lot of people. Again, parents, kids, coaches, you're just getting to know each other. Coaches have to establish what they want to accomplish with their systems potentially. They have to identify what skill sets you have, lack at, where's the chemistry. The first 2 or 4 weeks, Mike, to me, is really about, team building, maybe some reacquisition of skill because kids haven't been playing the whole year, hopefully. And then like a lot of, structuring habits and off-ice habits just to get the team working together. If you skip that part and go right to the hockey development, like, strict tactical skill development, I think you're in for a long season, right? Even the elite teams do this tough stuff. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about, hockey is a long season. It's a really long marathon of development and parsing it up and breaking it down and understanding that you don't need to win your championship in September, that you need to build programming. I think a lot of us as coaches probably get a little disillusioned by thinking like an undefeated season is a good thing. And most of the time it's not. Statistics show, like when you see like the President's Trophy winner loses in the first round every year, it's because, there needs to be adversity. There needs to be that grit building. There needs to be the highs and lows to kind of build a little thick skin around when it is important to win. And I don't care what team you're on, unless you're on some kind of a super elite team that has like a seeding tournament in August that determines whether you're going to play in the top or the lowest of the brackets. Nothing matters in August and September. Those games don't matter really, except in a negative way.
Yeah.
Because if you
those teams
win,
are practicing ahead of that tournament too.
Yeah, and they're not even. That's not even. Right.
Yeah.
That's not even the beginning of the season. That's like their mid-season form.
Right.
For the rest of us, for the run-of-the-mill hockey program, their average program is starting after Labor Day,
right,
and kids are getting on the ice, and we're all playing together. It's the feeling out period, but. One of the things you can do is you can't just rely on the outcome of games. This is where all of the other stuff comes into play. The training, the practice planning, the team building, the social interaction of parents and players. All of this you have because we're not in the craziness of the season. We're not in like the tournament, November, December timeframe right now. We have a lot more space to build in kind of the development structure that we want. And if you could build it in and get people to buy in, it's so much nicer when you're rolling through November and December.
Well, and it sets the tone for the whole season. All right. Anytime you jump into something 1000%, I mean, even if you succeed in a couple months, you start facing burnout and things like that. Another quick story, Mike, last season, one of the teams went undefeated by, I think the closest game might've been a 4 or 5 goal spread. And I'm going to tell you something. While it is an accomplishment in some ways to go undefeated from a seasonal standpoint, those kids were not having fun. And I talked to their coaches and I talked to the kids. It was a drag to get them to come to practice because there was no competition. And even their championship celebration was very low. Like, yeah, of course we won. It just goes to show you. And this is what I would say. Speaking of the undefeated season, right? The only value of an undefeated season would be if every single game was extremely competitive. And then I would say this, in that environment, undefeated is nearly impossible, right? I don't know many teams that have gone undefeated winning by 1 goal every game. All right. It's not a thing. So that competitive balance. And then, Mike, the other thing you said, those life skills, that's your ROI, right? Understanding how to enter a new environment, learn the people around you, learn how to communicate, learn how to learn. These are really important elements at the start of the season. I always say at the end of the season, I don't want to be coaching too much. You should know. You should have it down, and we should just be maintaining at that point. That's not something that's realistic for the start of the season. Mike, another scenario for you, okay? I think a lot of parents coming in the show, the kids are playing for the same team again, all right? There's a lot of people also that new team, right? Let's talk to the parents and how they can help their kids enter the season with the right attitude, especially if they're nervous, maybe they're burned out, they switch teams. How do we manage expectations? How do we help them with their preseason routines and kind of avoid that early season drama, which is the worst thing ever when you're in August or September and it's already dramatic? Man, that's a nightmare scenario. Mike, what are your thoughts on how can parents help their kids enter the season with the right attitude?
Yeah, I mean, if you're dealing with the negative chat rooms in August, it's like, oh, Like, how does this even occur? So, well, number one is all of us, right? We have to be proactive and communicate everything we want out there. Over communicate, over communicate, over communicate. Get as much stuff on the table as possible. If you're a parent, make sure that you're letting the coaches know, or the manager, or whatever. Listen, I'm a competitive soccer player. I'm a great football player. I do, there's other things in my life that you should have known. But I'm reminding you that now we made this team, but September and October and November are going to be hard for my family because my son or daughter is doing other activities. Their interests are expansive, right? But we should know that going in. If you're going, oh, I should probably tell them that I'm an all-star soccer player. I'm going to miss every Wednesday and Thursday practice. If you're doing that now, it's probably a little late, right? But I would do it anyway. I'd be like, listen, don't just assume everybody, doesn't think that you're that crazy about hockey, right? You have to know that, you do have a life, you have a family life. But I think as a parent, I don't know. I often think I would always think of it as the responsibility of the veteran player, the kid that's already been there, to open the door to the new player. It's funny. I did a team building exercise over the summer at a hockey school, and I had kids from everywhere, all different teams. And I'm like, how would you feel if you walked in the locker room and you're a brand new player, right? You're one of, 2 new players out of 15. Like, how would you want to be greeted? Like, would you want people just to look down at their phones and not embrace you, or not say, hey, what's your name? Welcome to the team. Hey, sit next to me. Like, if you want to build, if you're a kid that's coming back, if you're a parent of a child who's a veteran on that team, coach your kid to coach the kid. Get in there and be like, no, your goal should be remember when we had that, we had the podcast back with Darryl Belfry, and he would have that. I love that the goal he would have for his daughter every tournament she went to or camp, that she would meet 3 new people no matter what. So between Friday and Sunday, meet 3 new people. Well, that's like my goal for a kid that walks into a brand new locker room, but it should also be the goal of the veteran kid. Like we need to tell our kids, hey, if a new player comes in, find 3 things about them you like. Find out, who they are, and build that community quicker, because that will pay dividends. Now, if you're a coach listening to this, or a manager, you can put that in there and let it grow organically. But kids, sometimes they need a little push. Yeah, they need the idea of it. And I don't know. I think, just based off of my experience, that more times than not, the kids will take that and run with it. I think more times than not, they'll want to make that team a competitive, universal team, rather than say, oh, that's them, that's the old kids, and these are the new kids. Like, it really is the beginning of the year to say, listen, we're a team. We show, like I said it all the time, right? That if you're a coach and you pick the player, it's your job to make them part of the team. It's not your job to cut them. You pick them, make them part of the team. So for the veteran hockey player, it's your job to get in there and make that player feel like they're very, they're wanted. But the new player, it's your job to get in there and be wanted. Like, you have to go in there and be proactive on, thinking about how you're talking to kids. You can't be like, oh, I can't believe I'm on this crappy team. We beat your ass every day last year. Like, I can't believe I got selected for this team. These are a bunch of bums. Like, you go in there on day 1 of practice, it's going to be a tough season. So coach your kids about going into the room. How are they going to have that conversation? How are they going to, like the old saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression? Coach your kids before they go into that room. Make sure that you're preparing them for success by just giving them some hints about, when you walk in the room, why don't you look for, so-and-so, you knew him from hockey school, or you went to a clinic with him. Seek out those people proactively, and don't just throw your kid to the wolves into a locker room of kids he doesn't know.
Well, I'll take it a step further, Mike. I've had parents say to me, well, my kid gets really nervous in the situations. Yeah, that's why you need to practice now. Okay, that's exactly why if you're playing competitive team sports, this is your opportunity to teach them, because, if they go to college or beyond with that, or without that skill, it's detrimental. It is so well documented that the ability to communicate is such an important skill.
Yeah, and we all know it as adults, right, Lee? I walk into a cocktail party and I kind of go to the corner. I'm like, if I do that, then I'm not really enjoying myself. I'm getting nothing out of it. I might as well not even be there. So find a way to get in there and be proactive.
It's like people that go to networking events and don't network. It's like, well, what do you, they must have really good hors d'oeuvres. I guess that's the
Right.
reason you go there.
Right. They got to have a couple of
Yeah.
scotches before they start talking. But I
Yeah.
think for
Open
a
bar.
kid, for your 11-year-old, just get in there, coach them, give them three keys to like locker room success, and just get them in there, give them a little ammunition to go in and say, hey, I can do that, and I can say that, and I can ask this, and just see where it goes. They'll figure it out.
One of the questions we get asked a lot here, we can address this in this episode, is from parents of, okay, when should I approach the coach? When should I approach the coach to talk? And I think our answer shocks people, because the answer is never. You really should not ever be talking to the coach unless there is some form of bullying or you're fearing for the danger of your child. In those scenarios, yes, you got to broach those. They're all very different. But if you just want to talk to the coach about line combinations and where your kid should be and what they're learning and what you think the coach should be teaching, parents, I'm going to be very honest with you. Do not do it at any age. If they're under 12, they should be working on everything. Your opinion probably isn't welcome unless you're asked for it. And if they're over 12, the kid should be asking. Do not approach the coaches about the coaching. Again, unless there is some bullying or danger, don't do it. It's not your place. Let the coaches coach. If they don't do a good job, they will not be invited back. Okay, keeping in mind, I'm talking about the hockey. I'm talking about the hockey. I'm not talking about the other stuff. Okay, Mike, you have any thoughts on that one? I wanted to bring that up.
Nah, I mean, there's a time and a place to approach the leadership of a team, and it really isn't about the ice time and about line combinations. It's about, like, listen, my son, he feels a little uncomfortable in the locker room. This is happening. What can you help me do to resolve this? Or what can we do together to work on this? It can't be the opening to say, oh, well, thanks for that. And listen, I'm not one of those parents. I never do this.
I never do this. Yeah.
I never do that. I've never approached a coach, but can I have a conversation with you? And I think those are,
you're making an important distinction. Mike, sorry, you're making an important distinction because the question you ask is to receive information. Those questions are fine. If you have a question to receive information to help the coach, to help your kid, that's fine. But if your intention is to give information,
all right,
that's different.
Yeah, no, it's your job to protect, like we say it all the time, right? You're your biggest advocate of your child. Like, it is your job. Your job is to keep your child safe. It's not your job to get your child to get on the first line.
No,
like, that's your job at home. Like, that's their job. It's your job to motivate them to say, hey, listen, I probably work at this, or I probably do this better, or that you can have all that banter you want, getting them lessons, but it's not your job to go in and question why a coach is doing something as far as playing time. No coach wants to lose. No coach is coaching to lose games. They just don't. They don't do it. So they have their own reasoning. Maybe they're a bad coach. All right, well, listen. If they're a bad coach, they're a bad coach. You're not going to make them a good coach by telling them what to do. You're going to make them somebody that doesn't want to be around you. So I think it's just just knowing, and that conversation. But again, I think, Lee, your point has to be crystal clear that this has nothing to do with not approaching a coach for a reason in relation to your child when it comes to safety.
100%. Yeah.
Their feelings about the team, feeling uncomfortable about a situation, even a learning disability. Like, these are the kind of things coaches want to know.
100%. Yeah.
But understand how, and if you're a coach listening to this and you're a parent coach, you need to set that parameter out there and allow people to feel they can go approach you without feeling like they're asking about ice time.
Yeah. And again, if you establish a good relationship with a coach and you can have good open conversations and the coach is okay with it, I'm not against that.
100%.
Right? But when someone comes up and says, you know what you should do? It's like, okay, tell me what I should do. All right, Mike, let's talk about some red flags. All right. Season started. Everything's going wrong. Chemistry is not there. Players have anxiety. Team culture is toxic. What do you do if you walk into an environment like that? Because it does happen. Hopefully not too often, but it does happen where you realize kind of early, like, oh, no. What are some of those red flags as well?
Well, I guess the first one is make sure it's not you that's causing the red flag. Like maybe it's your child. Like it's
Yeah.
so like, and I'm always like, I know my wife gets crazy, when she says, oh, so and so, blah blah blah. I go, well, maybe it's our kid. Like, how do you know it's not our kid? Wait, of course it's not our precious child. It's not. It can't be our child.
Right. Right.
Well, why don't we just find out first and make sure it's not our kid that's causing the problem? Because who knows? Kids are kids, right? Everybody can't be perfect, but I think that's like, to me, those.
Wait, I got to say it, Mike. You and I agree with that mindset, but there's a lot of parents out there today that we know this from talking to teachers, right? It's never their kid's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. So that's a big accountability. I'm one of those parents, and Mike is too, that my first thought is, what did he do? What did she do, right? A teacher calls me, what did they do? All right, but parents, you got to do that audit. Like if your teacher, coach calls and says, listen, your son or daughter did this. No, not my child. My child would never do that. You're probably the problem at that point.
Right. I mean, some of these kids are doing these things. So if it's your kid, then just address it, right? And get in front of it. Now, if you walk into these situations and you're a responsible parent, it's kind of like safe sport, right? It's like report and then make a decision. Like your first obligation is the red flag is the safety piece, is like the well-being of the athletes. If kids are getting hazed in the locker room, if there's a lot of verbal abuse, if there's a time when you see that, like, even if it's not your own kid, the kid's getting dressed out in the hallway and he doesn't feel welcome into the locker room. Like I just think it's an obligation for any parent to say something and have a conversation about, like, why is that happening? Right. And what can I help do to resolve that? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just, maybe it's a misunderstanding. Maybe the kid is a jackass, and they don't want to be in the locker room. But just have a conversation, and then a coach can then approach that and then determine, like, okay, where is it now? If that red flag is the coach, and how many episodes have we had on this, Lee? I mean, you got to know going, like, your coaches. 90% of us aren't getting on a team without kind of knowing what we're going to get out of our coach. Now, what we then accept is different, right? And usually we'll accept more when we're winning than when we're losing.
Winning solves all problems.
Winning helps really bad coaches, right? Because like an abusive bad coach, if they're winning, people are like, well, we are winning.
We're winning.
Like so, my kid hasn't played.
Right?
Yeah, as much as I mean, my kid hasn't played any third period in the last 4 days, but I think this is where, like, to me, I don't know if the red flags can start in September. It's just hard. Like for me, one weekend can't be we got to quit. But
maybe that's patterns, the red flag. What you just said, like maybe the red flag is I want to quit right now. Right.
And it's September 15th. So I think it's more of looking for the fact that your child's not excited to go to the rink, or they're nervous about play, and then you have to do some self-reflection. Is it you doing that to them? Is it the coach doing that to them? Is it a teammate doing that to them? And that's this is all parenting, right? This is the hardest thing in the world to do, because none of us are usually equipped to do it.
I got to bring this up too, and it's going to flow perfectly into the next point we're going to make. Typically, your kids are starting school at the exact same time they're starting hockey. It's around the same time.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, can we all just sit and reflect for a minute about what it was like to be 12 and starting school, starting on a new team, being asked to perform? You're traveling all over the place, trying to figure out your new teachers. Sometimes you're in a new building. I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I'm trying to think the adult equivalent would be like starting a new job and potentially playing on a very high level adult league team 5 times a week. And then you gotta do all these things. So parents, like that, look, I'm going to say,
and then you're never at work on Friday.
Right. You
you're away
to ask to
leave.
You got to ask to leave the new job because you got a tournament to play in. Look, kids are pretty resilient, right?
Yeah.
If you think they're not feeling that, they're more resilient than we are. But that's a lot. That's a lot for anybody. And I think we got, remember that. So that actually leads us into the next kind of topic here, which is, habits. Like there's a lot of underrated habits and routines to start the season. I'll tell you some right now. Is your kid going in sleep deprived? Have they been up late all summer and now you're having a hard time getting them to bed and they're not sleeping? Are they eating? Have they been eating trash all summer? Have they been doing anything for their mindset or their mind? And I'm going to say this, parents, you can start doing that at any age. I hear it all the time. Oh, they're a little young for that. It's the opposite. You're too old for it. Start as early as you can. Have you looked at your equipment, right? Do you know your schedule? Have you sat down with your kid? This one of the pictures we posted made us famous, Mike. I posted a picture of our written out calendar from the hockey season, right? And we have that on our wall. It's a digital world, and believe me, I have a very good digital calendar. But at home, we have the hockey calendar, which shows every practice, every game, who's driving, who's picking up from school. It's there for the kids, and they use it. They look at it, right? So, if you're just running into the season crazy, and I know there's a lot of parents out there, well, my life is crazy, I have to keep it crazy. Believe me, you have time to fill out a calendar for 30 minutes one day. You just got to find the time. You got to make the time. But underrated habits, Mike, again, starting with like sleep, like I said, like make sure your kid's recovering. Going in, sleep deprived, you're going to have a long season and injury prone.
Yeah, and again, hockey is routine. You want to have making sure skates are sharpened. Make sure your stick is taped. Make sure your stick's the right size. Make sure you're just checking your equipment that your Velcro it's not on the last grip. Like just replace it or get new. Like don't wait until the kids at practice for a lace to break in half. Don't wait for the shin pad to fall off. Don't wait to November and your kid's like, oh, my elbows keep getting hurt. Well, why? Well, my elbow pad's broken or it doesn't fit me anymore.
Right.
Like you need to jump in there and get in there and build the habit of how you prepare for hockey or any sport, just like school, right? You wouldn't go to school unprepared, I hope. I mean, we're all going school shopping and going back to school. It's just back to hockey. Just make sure things fit. Mouth guards are, like the mouth guard rule, right? If you're gonna take a brand new mouth guard, stick it in your kid's face the first day because you just had to get it out of the vending machine because you forgot your mouth guard and you didn't mold it or didn't do any work with it or your kid had braces. If you did, what do you think your kid's gonna think? They're gonna hate it. Like they're not gonna wear it. Neck guards and things like that. You got to go in and build those routines up for your players and make a habit that we wear neck guards, we wear mouth guards, we wear protective gear, we show up on time, we have our workout clothes, we wear sneakers and not flip-flops to pre-game workouts or practices. Like these are all things to help your player have success, and they're not things that cost money. They're things that just take a time.
Well, and here's the one I'm doing with my kids right now. And again, like where your kid's at in life can change what you're asking.
Yeah.
But my kid's 12U. So what I've been doing this season, and it's been very successful, is okay, your practice is at 5:30 p.m. When should we be leaving the house? And he will do the math. I think we should leave at this time. When should your bag be packed? At this time. Okay, did you write that down? Sometimes he goes, I'll remember. I got to trust him a little bit. But now he's coming to me with that. And the other ones too, I've said, if we have early morning games, what time do you need to wake up? This time. Okay, did you set the alarm? Let them tell you the habits. Now, what this looks like for an 8-year-old might be, let's go downstairs and look at our equipment packing checking list, right? And did you pack all those things in your bag? About 6, 7, 8, that's about all they can handle. They're not going to be able to tell you when to leave for practice, right? Parents, I'll say it too. If your kid's constantly late or you're constantly dropping them off late, you play a role in this too. Okay. Like if you're not willing to get, I mean, and I'm not talking about the one you're rushing home from work and there really is no extra time. If you're just habitually leaving a little late, you got to make that, you got to help out there too. You got to get up 15 minutes earlier, depending on the age. Okay. I know older kids whose parents will not speak to them. Chris Pronger, former NHL player, Hall of Famer, has said, I don't do anything. I don't tell my kids anything. They have to get me up. They have to wake me up to show me that they want to go. Now that might sound pretty strict to some of you. All right, that guy has the resume to back up anything he says, but let your kids tell you what to do. All right. If you tell them we're waking up at this time, we're doing this, we're doing that, well, it's going to become a chore. Okay. Yeah. So find that mix. Okay. Find that mix with your kids. Build those habits really, really early so you don't have to worry about them later on. Okay. And I'm going to say it again one more time. The mindset stuff, there's so much stuff out there, parents. If you don't know what to do, write us an email. We've got plenty of tools we can share. but just look for mindset training. Help your kids work their minds out as much as they're working their bodies out. Again, it'll be a whole nother episode if I dive into that. So I'm not going to start on that now. Mike, got another one for you. Let's just say you are a returning player, right? How do you reflect on last season to grow and maybe not get stuck in what happened last season?
Right. Well, that is the mindset, right? That is the ability to wipe that slate clean, but that takes work, and it doesn't help if you're a parent reminding them of how bad last season was either. Like I used to. It's funny. I worked with a coach when the kids were like 10U or something like that, and we would have some pretty rough games, right? So let's say we had a rough game on Saturday, we'd get beat 10-1 or something, like really, and I always come in like on Sunday's game. It was a new world for me. Like it's a new day. We could be playing the same exact team. We reset. We're ready to go. And I would bring that energy into the room. And it'll be this guy like, okay, guys, just don't think about yesterday's loss. Don't worry about how bad we got beat. That team was so much better than us, but that was yesterday. Today's day. I go, you just wiped out the whole day. Like you just already put us in a mindset of we just got our butts kicked yesterday, and now we're probably going to get a kick today. And that's the same way you have to think as a parent with your player. Don't allow them to come in and be like, oh God, the reason last year. Why not say, hey, if that's just changing the narrative of your discussion. But I think it's also, you have to, unless you're the parent that's doing the same thing, like if you're in the car saying, here we go again. Last year started the same way, and look what happened. Like I think if you're a player, I think Lee's point about writing things down, setting short-term goals, being proactive in how you're going to look and view at things. It's amazing when you want to view something in a positive way and you force yourself to put it in a positive way, how it becomes positive. I mean, it really, you can easily go down that road of woe is me and I can't believe I'm this team and I remember this last year. It's probably the reason why successful athletes are successful, because they're able to clean the slate, be the goldfish, as you say, and just forget about what happened yesterday, last shift, last month, last year, and move on. But that does, for a lot of us, that takes a lot of coaching. It takes a lot of effort to put yourself in that mindset.
Well, and Mike, we have to say this too. We're talking about the negative side of it. There's also a positive side of it. We won the chip last year, man. We were awesome last year. We were awesome yesterday.
Yeah.
That's just as detrimental to the team. I'm going to bring this up. Jalen Hurts, quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. I know a lot of you might not be Eagles fans, but hear me out here. He was on a press conference recently, like the day after they got their Super Bowl rings because they won the Super Bowl last year. Sorry, everyone who's not an Eagles fan.
Did they?
They did, big time. Yeah, they really kicked the crap out of the Chiefs. I hope we don't lose any listeners on that one. But listen, joking aside, it was the day after the ring presentation. He's at a press conference, and one of the very, smart journalists says, "Hey, why aren't you wearing a Super Bowl ring?" And he just kind of leaned to the mic. He goes, "That was last year." He goes, "I'm not focused at all on last year. That ring's not going to help me win this year." And he said something else like, "Nothing from last year is going to help me win this year." Right. That's what I want to hear from not just the quarterback of the team I follow, but also from my players. Nothing that has happened is really going to help you for this year. You might have learned some things, but you got to learn new things. So positive or negative, you got to move forward.
I think that's why, like this year, when you heard, like when you listen to guys like Paul Maurice, who coached the Florida Panthers, and his like kind of feeling that there is no momentum in pro sports, like pros, when you get to be a great athlete, momentum can't carry you day in and day out. It has to be a new mindset going in. Like you can't carry the highs of yesterday's win, because that's gone. It's over. And I think, and the reason people can overcome terrible losses is because they have the mindset that yesterday didn't mean anything. The last shift didn't mean anything. My last play didn't mean anything. I am now focused on what I need to do to be successful, even though the last 5 times wasn't successful. And I think so, if we take the advice and watch what like the leaders of sport and business do, it's the ability to, reset their mindset It doesn't always have to be positive either. It's just cleaning it out and not letting that negative piece drive you in the direction you're going. But again, for you have an 8, 9, and 10-year-old, that needs to be practiced. That needs to be coached.
You know, our friend Bobby Robbins, former NHL player, he was a guest on the show. He's got some ride to the rinks coming. He had this great quote about you better have a B game in addition to your A game, because nobody can bring their A game every single day. And it was a really good point that he was making, is that you're just not going to be able to get the 100% out of yourself every day. So you better have a B game that's very good, that's not a liability, and you know how to play in a game like that, which is basically giving 100% of what you have that day. And I thought that was a great mindset, right? I think we should tell youth athletes that, you know, sometimes things are just not going to work, and you're going to have to change it up a little bit and find out what is working. Mike, we're almost out of time. The last question I want to ask, a poignant one, how can we make the start of the season more fun, maybe less stressful? Like, what are the things, really, what are the expectations of that first few weeks in the best environment possible?
Well, I certainly think from the hockey perspective, it's more about team activities. It doesn't have to be on the ice. All about team activities, all about get-togethers, all about hanging out, all about interacting with each other in competitive ways and non-competitive ways that players can just get to know each other, feel comfortable around each other, and have some kind of, you've mentioned this a million times in the show, a common bond, something that doesn't have to be the win. There's not the common bond's not, I'm going to win the championship.
Well, everybody wants
the common
that.
bond is
everybody wants.
Yeah, everybody wants that. The common bond is I want to fight for you. The common bond is I want to play for you. I want to play with you. I want to play in a place where you're happy and I'm happy. And you don't need elite athletes to feel that way. So I think my most important piece when I start seasons with teams now is all the stuff that's not hockey. It's all the stuff that and take care of everything else that's going to allow me to make the hockey the funnest thing we're doing, because they love being together. Yep. And that's the key for me.
The key, you said the word fun. And here's the thing. I know a lot of parents, and we'll kind of wrap up here, that, well, you can't have too much fun at the start of the season. You got to get back in shape. You got to skate hard. The best teams I ever played for, where we were getting dog skated and doing really hard work, it was fun because we wanted to do that together. The work sucked, but you've heard us say it before, right? Embrace the suck. We were doing it together. We were getting through it together. So it might be a very mutilated, weird sounding version of fun, but that was fun. We were trying to get something accomplished together. Youth hockey, especially the younger ages, should not be dog skated at the beginning of practice. It should be, like you said, the fun drills, get to know each other. What's your name? What do you like to do? Are we doing our cheer? Are we practicing our celebrations? You got a long road ahead of you. It's an 8-month season. We like to say it's 6. It's not. It's 8. It's almost as long as it takes to have a child. All right. If you make the playoffs, it is maybe 9 months. All right. You might as well try and enjoy some of it while you're doing it. All right, Mike, this has been a really great episode. And parents, again, we hope you're enjoying it, because it's a great reminder for the start of the season. We got to enjoy this, right? We always call hockey the cult. It can be a fun cult sometimes, right?
Yes.
Mike, anything before I close it out?
No, I mean, I think that, if you've been through the coaching education program at USA Hockey, you would have heard the term, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that's really the beginning of your season. I think it's like, okay, I'm a great coach, championships, blah, blah, blah. I got to show the kids I care. If I'm a parent, I got to show that I care. And if I'm a player, I got to show my teammates and my coaches I care. And I think if you can do all that and create atmosphere where it is fun, it's energized, it's competitive, it's, putting the kids in places where they got to really have some adversity early on in a controlled way. There's nothing better than that. And it's so much easier to do than trying to go play competition, because you can control that whole ecosystem, right? You can control who wins and who loses. I mean, these are kids. You can control that. You can't control going to play another team that doesn't care about you and doesn't care about your success. You can only do it by controlling the whole ecosystem. And the easiest way to do that is to build programs around your kids that don't entail going out and playing somebody outside your bubble. Well,
that's a perfect way to end it, Mike. And I'm going to say to the audience, you can show us how much you care. by sharing this episode in your team snaps.
Right.
Share it with your teams. Also, if you can leave reviews wherever you listen, Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it always helps us out. And honestly, folks, if you have any questions for us, how do you maybe make the season more fun in the start of the year? How do you encounter this stuff? What problems are you seeing? Email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com, or click the link accompanying the episode. And you can text us, leave your name, maybe where you're at, what team you play for. And we love doing episodes based on your suggestions. But that's going to do it for this one of Our Kids Play Hockey. For Mike Bonelli, I'm Lee Elias. Have fun. Enjoy your hockey, everybody. Stay on.
We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.